UFC 272, Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal. Welcome to the main card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by Zan, I go by Harris, and as usual, we're giving you our fight-by-fight breakdown and analysis from that betting perspective specifically. Here to let you know which fights are worth the value, which fights you want to avoid, which underdog has the best shot at winning, and some parlay action towards the end of the video as well. If you haven't checked out our prelim card video yet, please make sure you go ahead and do that. We know that this card in some ways is subject to change. The co-main event was called off, Rafael dos Anjos versus Rafael Fiziev. Hearing some rumors that Islam Makhachev will be stepping in to fight RDA at 170. Hoping that happens. If that doesn't happen, wouldn't be surprised if this card is shaken up in terms of the order because it is pretty lopsided for now. We had 8 fights that we covered in the prelim video. So we only have 4 fights to cover in the current state of affairs for this main card. So going to be a bit of a quicker video than usual, but we are going to get to work. Starting with fight number 1, we have Sergey Spivak taking on Greg Hardy. For this fight, we see, of course, Greg Hardy is the underdog at plus 180. Sergey Spivak, the favorite at minus 220. Spivak lost to Tom Aspinall in September. Can't be too mad at that. Aspinall is looking really good in this division. Sergey is a combat sambo fighter, I should say. He has serviceable striking. His striking is looking a bit cleaner in each fight. I think he's gaining a little bit more weight fight over fight, so really trying to fit into the heavyweight frame, but still on the smaller side of things as a heavyweight. He is a bit more of a counter puncher on the feet, good timing in general. To the point of timing, he uses that to find takedown opportunities, has good chain wrestling, has good clinches against the cage, good top position when he does get on top. One issue that I have with him is that he kind of turtles up against bigger strikers, questionable striking defense from that perspective. For Greg Hardy, he's on a 2-fight losing streak, so you have to imagine he's pretty hungry here at this point, perhaps fighting for his job. The UFC made a number of cuts over the last couple of weeks. He lost to Tai Tuivasa in July. Remember, he had Tuivasa rocked in that fight before getting overzealous with and overconfident in his ability, whereas we saw Derek Lewis couldn't even really rock Tai Tuivasa. So there might be something here about Greg Hardy's power that we're not really taking enough of a note of. Of course, we know he's physically big, 6'5", fills out the division at 265, of course. We know he's hard-hitting. We know he has a lot of power. A decent MMA stand-up. I can't say he's the best striker. He does like that low kick, surprisingly light on his feet, likes to control the center of the octagon, likes to set up that big right hand, and has a pretty long jab. We see he's going to have a 2-inch and change reach advantage here, so I wouldn't be surprised if he uses that jab. And I mean, he throws a lot of straight punches, so it's not like he's only trying to look for that big right hand. I'm not mad at his cardio either. He does have 3-round cardio from what I've seen. And I mean, again, most importantly, with these heavyweights, we know that they're oftentimes late bloomers. He is improving in every fight. He is getting more technical. He is becoming a bit more diverse on the feet and becoming a bit more of a complete fighter. Takedown numbers will be very relevant in this fight. Spivak, we see, lands 2.7 takedowns a fight at 57% accuracy. Really good numbers there. We know Greg Hardy on paper has 80% takedown defense. That's important in this heavyweight division, especially because Hardy will probably outweigh Spivak by 30 to 40 pounds here come fight night. And you have to wonder what effect that's going to have on Spivak's takedown ability. I noticed with Spivak, although he has no problem taking guys down that have 0 ground game, you give him a Marcin Tybura, who was dominating him via wrestling, or you give him, a Tom Aspinall, who had no issue defending his takedown before landing that KO punch. And all of a sudden, Sergey Spivak's takedown numbers look a little bit shaky, or look a little bit unreliable, not true to what the stats look like on paper. Although Tybura, as a common opponent, was able to finish Hardy on the ground, I think I saw enough from a takedown defense perspective to be at least somewhat satisfied with Hardy's chances of defending Spivak's attempts Again, if I'm going to assume that Greg Hardy will be the heavier fighter, the physically stronger fighter, definitely a gamble here. But I am banking on Hardy improving fight over fight. I am banking on Hardy being the bigger man and being hard to take down due to sheer size and physical strength. I kind of think about like guys trying to take Derek Lewis down as an example. Even if he does get down, again, that physical strength just kind of allows him to get back up right away. And I am also banking on Greg Hardy having the power advantage in his striking. Again, like I said, Spivak doesn't handle big strikers too well. He kind of turtles up. So I think Greg Hardy could have some moments here, especially if he lands a fight-changing punch. I think he will handle it a lot smarter this time, as opposed to what he did in his last fight versus Tai Tuivasa. And of course, in a heavyweight fight, it's a heavyweight beware. I think Greg Hardy will be able to land that fight-changing punch. I think he'll manage it a lot smarter this time. And I think there's a real shot here for the underdog. So I'm going with Greg Hardy at plus 180.
Yeah. I'm with you, man. I'm rolling the underdog as well, man. You got to give this Greg Hardy guy credit. He only lost to Tai Tuivasa, Marcin Tybura, Volkov, and Alan Crowder. He won that fight, but it was an illegal knee. He was winning that fight. But aside from that, like, he only loses to the top of the division. Now Spivak is trying to get there. He's trying to get to that level. When he faces that competition, like, they kind of put him in his place. So he's not there yet. The reason I'm going Hardy, I think that Spivak needs to survive the first round, and as the fight goes on, I think he's going to be able to utilize grappling. I don't think Hardy has the best gas tank, but I believe Hardy's improving, and again, he's going to be the bigger guy, like Harris said, and he's actually going to be a lot more athletic. So going for these takedowns, he's facing a guy that's going to be really athletic. That might be enough just to negate the takedowns being bigger and more athletic. Because he knows what to do now to defend the takedowns. And he's going to have those advantages, the speed, the strength, the size. So it's going to be really hard, I believe, for Spivak to get this to the mat. And I think on the feet, I think Hardy can connect. I think his striking's getting better. I think he has some of the heaviest power in the division. And I think he can connect here in that first round against Spivak. And at these odds, you got to go here with Hardy. I think this is a 50-50 fight. When you look at how Hardy's improving each fight. So I'm going to go Greg Hardy here to get back on track. He has 2 losses. This guy is going to be super motivated here. And this is a fight that he could win. It's not like they're putting him in there with someone that's too far ahead. So this is a fight he could win. If he takes it serious, which I believe so, down 2 fights, he should get this done. So I'm going to go Greg Hardy here to pull off the upset.
Speaking of getting back on track, we're going to look at the second fight here of the main card. We have Kevin Holland, who's looking to get back on track in the win column, taking on Alex Oliveira. For Kevin Holland, he's finally getting back into octagon after his no contest decision to Kyle Dawkins. For what it's worth, he was definitely losing that fight. Kickboxing is what is his main strength. He uses all of his length. He's going to have 5 inches in reach. He's going to have another 4 inches in height. Quick on the feet, good striking IQ. He can strike first or kind of play that role of counterpuncher. Just really decides, what he chooses to decide in that moment. He has a decent clinch with some decent elbows and knees in range. Also important to note that he's a BJJ black belt. So we know his biggest weakness has been his wrestling and guys taking him down. But again, he is a BJJ black belt, so he's not clueless on the ground. We also know that wrestling is an area of his game that he's been actively working on. Probably the biggest X factor with him is the way he talks in the ring. I find it really works against him. I mean, he seems to want to continue to do it to be a fan favorite. I think it really works against him. So that's something that's pretty frustrating to see, especially if you do bet on Kevin Holland here. Alex Oliveira, on the other hand, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. Again, I talked about UFC making a lot of cuts. Alex Oliveira could be next on that list if he loses another one here. He lost a unanimous decision to Nico Price in October. Bounces a lot on the feet, kind of pounces forward with an explosive shot. Good movement, good in and out, good mix of punches and kicks. Unpredictable at times. He has good timing and does have some wrestling ability as well. 2.27 takedowns per fight, only 37% accuracy, but landing multiple takedowns in a fight is definitely a good thing. But I wouldn't really call the wrestling a strength of his. as he does like to keep it on the feet and as he does like to look for those opportunities. He does fade a bit as the fight goes on. So he's somebody who's a lot more dangerous in round one than he is in any other fight. Most important for this fight is Kevin Holland finally making his welterweight debut, 170 pounds. That's something that we feel he should have done a while ago, as he was clearly undersized at 185. The weight class change should help him deal with the strength of his opponents, should help his takedown defense ability, at least you would assume. But I'll keep the prediction short. I like Kevin Holland a lot in this spot. I don't see Oliveira posing a takedown threat in this fight. And I see Holland simply outclassing him on the feet, being sharper, being better at the things on the feet that Alex Oliveira is good at, being the more effective striker, plus capitalizing on that 4 or 5 inch reach advantage that he definitely uses. I can see him potentially even hurting Cowboy Oliveira in this fight. So I like Kevin Holland all the way here. I don't think takedowns will be an issue. And if this stays on the feet, I'm really liking Holland's chances.
Mm-hmm. One of the benefits for Holland in this fight is Alex Oliveira likes to put on a show. So he's going to get a willing partner in Holland. Holland's going to want to stand. Alex Oliveira is going to give him that fight. They're going to want to put on a show, get fight of the night, get an extra bonus. Oliveira has like 10 kids, so he needs money, right? So he's going to want to put on a show to get that performance bonus. Yeah, this is tough because as much as I believe Holland's going to be in a better weight class, that's for sure. And as much as I believe Holland is a far better striker, and I think that, or not far better striker, I think he's going to be the better striker, better movement. The 1-2 is very fast. I just think that Oliveira, he's a veteran, and all he needs is one shot. He's done this his whole career. I don't think Holland has the best chin. I think that small head, I think if Oliveira lands one of his bombs, he can put him out. If this fight becomes one of those dog fights where it's a wild fight, he's going to be super live in this fight as well. But if this is a fight where there's at Holland's pace and it's not a dog fight, I think he should win this clean. But if it becomes a dog fight, he can still win. But I think that's going to be much more harder because, again, one shot can change the fight. And if he knocks him out or knocks him down, Oliveira can jump on the back. And again, don't forget, if he has that jiu-jitsu, if he gets his back, he can ride out the round. You know what I mean? So this is a tough fight because we know that Oliveira does have the grappling, that if he was to go with a heavy wrestling approach, he does have it in him, 100%. But I don't think he's going to do that here because he plays to the crowd. He's going to look for that performance bonus. And I think Holland's going to knock him out, or Holland's going to beat him in the striking exchanges, just being quicker, being the younger guy, the taller guy. So I'm going to go Holland here to get this done. Yeah, he should win. He should win the striking here. So I'm going to go Holland to win this fight.
All right, let's move on to the third fight. I guess it's the placeholder as the co-main event at the moment. We have Edson Barboza taking on Bryce Mitchell. Very tricky fight here. We know Barboza lost to Giga Chikadze in August. We know he's always dangerous on the feet, really high-level kickboxer, very quick with his strikes. And I can kind of just reel off the laundry list of abilities for him. Good fakes and feints, good movements, of course, brutal kicks. He can control center of the octagon, has a lot of pop in his punches, a lot of striking speed as well, especially in this weight class. Generally good takedown defense, a respectable 78%. That will be relevant in this fight. Bryce Mitchell, still undefeated at 14-0. I have to take a look at that one loss there. I think it was something that was overturned. I could be mistaken there. But however, it's been 16 months since his last fight. That was versus Andre Fili back in October. He's a southpaw. He can switch stance. His stand-up is decent. Good forward pressure, decent striking, decent counter jab. But his specialty specifically is his ground game. 9 of his 14 wins are via submission, but specifically really good takedowns. Over 3 takedowns a fight, almost 50% accuracy. His strength is in how he chains the wrestling together and, how relentless he is on top and how he incorporates his grappling to stay in that sort of advantageous position to continue scoring points on top. and to kind of seal the round for him. Striker versus wrestler grappler is always a tough fight to call. We saw Mitchell chase takedowns via versus Feely, I should say, unsuccessfully at times. We saw Feely able to work his way up at times. On top of that, we saw Feely have moments on the feet here. But Mitchell, like I said, very relentless in his approach. He was, able to land several takedowns throughout the entire fight. It's very possible here that Barboza kind of takes some of the script from Feely, shows some good takedown defense early in the fight. If he is taken down, shows some ability to get back up, again, especially early in the fight. And more importantly, on the feet, just goes out there and outstrikes Mitchell for 3 rounds. But I think the key here will be Mitchell's forward pressure specifically. Barboza to me isn't the most effective when he's moving backward. And once you have him against the cage, the takedowns are possible. We saw that in the Dan Ige fight. If you look at Dan Ige versus Edson Barboza, although Barboza is the far better striker in my opinion, I feel like he doesn't really overwhelm you or smother you with his striking. I think that's going to allow for Mitchell to, at the very least, press forward. And like I said, I don't think Barboza is that good going backwards. That pressure that Mitchell can give could allow him the ability to eventually land that takedown in several rounds. I think this is one of those fights where Barboza will clearly be winning on the feet, but I think Mitchell will do enough on the ground to steal the rounds. That said, very dangerous here. But I've been more likely to bet the Barboza side of this fight in the past, and I've been sort of disappointed in the past with going with who I think could be better on paper, who is more proven, the veteran, taking on the person that is stepping up. So I'm going with Bryce Mitchell in this spot. I think it's a very tough fight to call, but I have to look at that glaring advantage on the ground, and I have to think that the forward pressure will allow Bryce Mitchell to bring the fight to the ground. So I'm going Bryce Mitchell on this one. Not a safe pick, not a parlay pick, not something I would recommend putting money on. But in terms of making a pick for the channel, again, I'm going with Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah, this is a hard fight. What makes it a hard fight is this is a big step up for Bryce Mitchell. And we've seen Edson Barboza fight these type of fighters that have the wrestling and grappling advantage. We've seen him win some of those fights, and we've seen him lose some of those fights. So it's tough to figure what's going to happen here, because he has beaten these fighters and he has lost to these fighters. But again, I'm gonna be quick. I'm gonna go Bryce Mitchell. I think that at some point he's gonna get it to the mat. The best thing about his game is he'll keep you there the whole round. Or and again, he's looking for submissions all round. And if you get up, he's looking to get it back to the mat. I think he's one of the best grapplers. I think, if not top 2 grappler in that division. That's how good he is. I think he's the best American grappler in MMA, aside from Ryan Hall. Ryan Hall, of course, is likely the number 1, but taking Ryan Hall out of the equation, I think he's the guy. So I think his grappling's gonna be too much in this spot. Get on top, rinse and repeat. So I'm gonna go Bryce Mitchell here to keep his. I believe he's undefeated. I'm gonna go Bryce Mitchell here to win this fight.
All right, let's move on to our main event of the evening. We have Colby Covington taking on Jorge Masvidal. I won't spend too much time on this fight. Covington lost to Usman in November. Masvidal lost to Usman back in April. That is each of these fighters' last fights. Covington, of course, we know is one of those fighters who can do it all at a very high level. He has good activity. He has good movement. He has good fakes and feints, good striking diversity, good combinations, good timing with his counter striking as well. He has unlimited cardio. And most importantly, he has world-class wrestling, over 4 takedowns per fight, almost 50% accuracy. He's the only guy to land a takedown on Kamaru Usman, although they didn't officially count it. So, you definitely have to give it up for Covington's ability with his world-class wrestling. Taking on Jorge Masvidal, of course, 2-fight losing streak at this point. As Covington says, journeyman, high-level striker, dangerous striker, has good striking IQ as well. He knows which shots to throw. Between his punches and his kicks, he has good combinations. Got to respect the power, of course, as well. Good movement on the feet as well. Good movement around the ring. Good in and out movement. And I mean, his clinch is pretty solid. Good activity with knees and elbows inside. Something that I noticed about Jorge Masvidal is that his striking defense it really isn't the best. It's almost due to being overconfident in his ability on the feet. I think about Usman knocking him out. But beyond that, because of course that's the one that everyone thinks about, I also think about the Nate Diaz fight. Nate Diaz landed clean way more than I would have expected in that fight. And it was strictly due to Masvidal's lack of striking defense. We also have to think that, we also have to think about Masvidal's takedown defense. Although it is 75% and it is respectable, we saw what Usman was able to do in their two fights. If there's anyone that truly has the same level of wrestling as Usman, it's Colby Covington. Simply put, I think Colby checks more boxes here. I can't say that Masvidal is better on the feet, although he's more dangerous, because Covington has that activity. He has that pressure. He has that ability to level change and potentially take the fight to the ground. So in terms of striking effectiveness, I can't even give Masvidal the clear winner in that area. Like I said, Colby has that activity. Colby has a chin. Colby has the cardio. His will to win is nonstop. And again, he has a huge advantage on the ground. So I like Colby Covington a lot in this fight. I think Jorge Masvidal's only chance to win is the same way I felt about Masvidal's only chance to win against Usman, which was to knock him out, which was to land a fight-changing punch. Otherwise, I think Covington is pretty much better everywhere, minus the striking severity or danger of the striking. But yeah, simply put, I like Covington in this one.
Yeah, this is another grudge match. I think it's a lot closer than the odds indicate here. I think Masvidal can pull this off. I think Covington, yeah, he has the takedowns. He can get him to the mat, but Covington doesn't really have the submissions. So I expect Masvidal to get back up to his feet at some point and get back in the striking. Eventually, the takedowns will be harder. If it was a 3-round fight, I would be really confident in Colby Covington. But as the fight goes on, 3rd round, 4th round, the takedowns will be harder unless Covington finishes them. Because I believe Masvidal has shown that as far as striking goes, he has cardio to go 10 rounds in an MMA fight. So yeah, this is hard. I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't if Masvidal pulls this one off here. I was gonna put this on my parlay, Colby Covington, but the more I looked into this fight, the more I thought, wow, there's a good chance Colby is gonna have a hard time here. But ultimately, I gotta go on the Colby side. I gotta make a pick for the channel. The better wrestling, he's improving in the stand-up. He has good movement, good footwork. I think Masvidal's super live, but I gotta go with Colby. He's ticking off more boxes here. He's better in more areas. So he should get the win here. He should get the win here, but I believe Jorge Masvidal, who knows Covington in a 5-round fight, I wouldn't be surprised if he catches him in the later rounds. But I gotta go with Colby Covington based on his skill set.
All right, so let's take it to Vegas. Again, only 4 fights to choose from for this main card, at least for now, at least until they reshuffle it. So let's take a look at, I guess, underdog pick first. Who are you taking a look at?
Underdog wise, I'm going to look at Greg Hardy.
Greg Hardy. I'm going to echo that pick. So Greg Hardy offering some really good value there. And in terms of favorites or parlay pieces, what are you taking a look at?
I'm going to roll with Bryce Mitchell, and I'm going to roll with Kevin Holland.
All right, so those two would pay a plus 120. So getting above even money on that one, $100 will return $220. For our bigger bettors, $250 will return $550. With this main card not really being complete, it's hard for me to kind of finalize a ticket. I will do it based on what we see so far, and it's not going to pay much. It's Kevin Holland as well as Colby Covington, and that would be just under even money. $100 will pay 176 for our bigger bettors. $250 will pay 440. I would probably look to piece in one of those prelim fights as well if I'm really making my bet at that point. But let's see what happens for this card, for this UFC 272 card. Let's see if there's any changes in the fight card, the fight order, if anything's added or removed further from this card. And let's officially sign off on that note. Make sure, as usual, you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video. And most importantly, we want to hear from you in the comments. Let us know how you feel about our picks. Let us know how you feel about the main event. Let us know what sort of parlay pieces you're looking at, or specific results that you're looking at. And we're more than happy to give you further breakdowns, further analysis on whether we agree or not with your pick. But officially signing off, we are Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. And this has been the UFC 272 Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal main card prediction video. And in our usual fashion, let's get this money.
Let's do it.